in 2015. In 2015, to my thoughts, I was in a space where I felt like lost it all. In 2016, I was in a space where I thought I found what it is that I was. By 2017, through shadow work, through going into my work, from that internal work, I noticed that I wasn't where I was supposed to be at. In 2018, around this same exact time, instead of being in this position where I'm at now, I'd be at my job, irritated, upset at the employees from the night before. I would be sitting there wondering why I'm in this space that I'm in, questioning the space that I'm in. In 2019, in that same position, I started learning. In 2020, came into that position of where I'm at now. And sitting here in 2021, I have the understanding of pushing forward and investing into the changes that I'm learning in. Divine Rise, Grand Rising, blessed be to the day, being that it's the day of the moon, may you realize that in order to dive into the aspects of self, to really learn self and pushing up, you got to create from the space of fortune where you at right now. Pushing forward. We often perceive good fortune. In being based on luck or serendipity. That means we put it in, oh, they just got all the luck, or they just got all this, or they just got all that. When in reality, your fortune is going to come into you understanding the effort and the dedication and the understanding that you are right where you are exactly need to be. There's something to learn there. In order to understand coming to the center of the now and understanding our effort and our dedication is in the now, you have to understand and plant firmly that you are exactly where you need to be. You are in the right place. And that is the depth of you coming into your power, your energy. Our integrity, our pace, our impact, these are some of the keys to the ley lines in how we see ourselves going forward. I said in 2015, I lost everything that I built up to that point. I lost everything up to that point that I built. In 2016, I started doing my internal work and healing certain aspects with myself, relationship with my mother, relationship with family members, into that aspect. In 2017, towards the end of 2017, 2018, I wrote the first God Thought, started building into God Thought. By 2019, towards the end of 2019, I started the podcast, started Friday Night Lectures, started those aspects, building in that space. In 2020, I fully launched G.O.D Alkhemist LLC, the place for my space for services, the services, reading services, consultations, shadow work therapy, and gang other things, spiritual products, occult alchemy, and all these aspects. The key for me to be in that space for myself and me being where I'm at now is, that's the dryer going off. I had to stop being the bystander in my own life. I had to stop being the bystander in my life. I had to stop being the one laying there on the floor or laying there. I had to stop being the one that was just laying there, sitting there, watching everything pass me by, and I'm keep saying these same things to myself of, I gotta go to work, I gotta go do this, I gotta go to this event, I gotta go here, I gotta maintain this identity, I gotta maintain this aspect of myself. Things that were actually challenging the integrity of me understanding me. This is you pushing up. I had to challenge the things that challenge the integrity of the authentic aspects of me while I was finding aspects of myself. I had to challenge the pace that I took in trying to create something out of the lack mindset, the struggle mindset, the fear-based narrative that I gave to myself. I had to really look at these things and look at how it was impacting my life. Just not even in that sense. I had to look at what was impacting my life and why I was there in that position to begin with. These are the things we start looking at when we start understanding our fortune. You are exactly where you need to be. When we look at this aspect, we go based on, most of us look at our progress or our results, and we look at them based on where we are at, not really realizing. For me, I had to realize that what I've built for myself, what I've built within myself, the authentic aspect within myself is from scratch. Is purely from scratch. I'm no longer using the old foundation that I sustained my entire beginning aspects of my life from. The memories are there, but I'm not taking those memories. I'm learning from those lessons. That's the key of you understanding the integrity within yourself. This is the key when you understand, start pacing yourself. Look at your memories of how you used to be able to go do certain things and how it challenged or it made you a bystander to the own integrity of your own heart, your own heart chakra, keeping yourself in balance, keeping yourself centered. Look at the aspects in your life now as compared to where you are now, and you feel like you're letting go of things. It's cool to let go. I got to let this go, cut this off. But that main space that you coming into yourself, the main space in coming into yourself is removing those things inside of you that correspond with the shit that you had in your life. So if you feel like, I'll give an example. For me, I had to let go of a lot of fear-based thoughts. And those fear-based thoughts kept me within positions that challenged the integrity of me. challenge the balance within my aspect. I felt like this pushing forward through this resistance was actually hurting me. It was aging me. It was making me slower. I was always pushing. I always had something outside of myself to set the tone for why I'm doing what I'm doing. So it was never really based on the integrity consciously or in the direct sense. It was based on everything around me. Being in that space made me seem better. It's easy for us to put ourselves in a position where we seem better simply by the environment, that frequency. Our integrity becomes the innocent, our inner self becomes the bystander in that space. You become the bystander. You start moving and you start going, you start putting yourself in positions, and at the end of every year, one thing that I've actually started doing for myself, my year-end wrap-up for myself, I look at my life, I look at what I did throughout the 365 days. I look at 365 days, 52 weeks, and I look at the events and how they helped me move forward. I look at the events, I look at who I was around, I look at I look at my space. I look at the space that I was in. And I look and I really become honest with myself and look at how did this impact me? How did this help me move 5 steps ahead? Whether my mental aspects, maybe becoming more emotional, my emotional clarity, my spiritual sense, my physical sense. How did this help me move 5 steps ahead? How did this help me move 10 steps? How did this help me move forward? And if it didn't, what definition does that have about me? What am I tolerating? Because remember, as we talked going out through the last couple of weeks, everything in your past, the reason that it's still there is because you have not dealt with the trauma, therefore you are tolerating it. And everything you're going for in the future, you haven't defined in the depth of the now, so you become anxious in the aspects of your future. You haven't defined that yet. You're not comfortable with yourself sitting in the space that you're in right now, understanding that you're where you need to be. Right now, you at exactly where you need to be at. You exactly where you need to be at. It's time for you to take that. It's time for you to pace yourself to learn. It's time to allow yourself to pace yourself to learn. Everything around you is going to help you expand, guaranteed. And that was one of the biggest things for myself. One of the biggest things for myself, and I know it's for a lot of others. We look at our progress and we measure it based on the old aspects of ourselves. We look at our progress, because remember, you're your own worst enemy. We look at our progress and we look for something externally to measure it. Here's the key. I remember using external aspects of myself, the outside aspects of myself to measure me. Even when it came down to me doing something that was the Good Samaritan, or me doing something that was from my heart, I could not embrace or appreciate what I was doing within that space because I was looking for a certain result. There was something that I was longing for. There was something that I was romanticizing. I was romanticizing something. I'm longing for something. I was looking for acceptance. I was looking for these aspects. So when it came time for me to build within that space for myself, there was no room for me to build within that space. I was a bystander in my own life. I felt like, okay, this is the reason that I'm here. As long as I'm here, I have a reason. You got to let that go. Because that's where your fortune is going to fall short. That's where your energy is going to fall short into you coming into that space of your effort. Remember, your effort is reflective of your interest. So what is your interest? If my interest is anything outside of me to sustain me in a certain space, it doesn't help me expand. It doesn't help me expand right here. Then why is it in my space? If my goal, if my interest is the reflection of my efforts, then everything I dedicate myself to is to that result. Keeping that there. Keeping that, me staying right here in that position, getting what I needed to get from that. But as I said before, you can get everything you want. You can get everything you want from where you're at. You can get everything you want from where you at right now. You can get everything you want. But when it comes time to you to get the needed aspects to define your integrity, to define the pace, to define the impact with you moving forward, you ain't defined that inside of yourself yet. I didn't define that inside of myself yet. So my integrity was challenged by my level of vulnerability. My pace was challenged by my level of dedication to me. My impact was reflective in the aspects of the results that I needed to see from myself to validate within myself. How I'm pushing forward, what I look like, what did last year look like for me? Last year was the most structural aptitude in my life. Some of the most structural aptitudes in my life. From the things that were lost to the things that were lost that I learned from and learned how to transmute through, into the things that I gained into that space. Now I'm sitting in a different position, knowing that I'm in the right position. Knowing that I'm in the right position. That's you coming into the aspects of your growth. That's you understanding that this progress is set for that tone. Removing those statutes of limitations. Only when you are in your true purpose. Only when you are like, I'm in my true purpose. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Only when you embrace the now and the depth of you being inside of your true purpose, do you remove all limitations. You remove every statute of limitations. Stop limiting yourself to what you once knew. Stop limiting yourself to what you were used to feeling. Stop limiting yourself to that space. Stop limiting yourself to going outside of yourself in that space, and then 365 days go by, and then you sitting there at the beginning of 2022, that forward, and you wondering why you're in the same exact position that you were in last year. Stop putting yourself in this case of state, and you're really going to stop worrying about a lot of things. I stopped worrying about a lot of things because it became true to myself. As I'm true to myself, true inside of my space, everything, every person, every place, everything that is around me at this point in time, if it's not helping, if it's not challenging me, if it's not teaching me, if it's not reciprocating in balance with me, it's not going to be there. I stopped going outside of myself to go look for these things and to find it within inside of me. That way I'm always on time, because there ain't no such thing as time, remember? I'm always in the right position. I'm always in the right level. I'm always where I need to be. That's my fortune. What am I about to learn from this space? What am I gaining from that space? How am I building within that space? And this is from 2000. I can just go back from 2015 to now. 2015 to now. 2015, I carried the weight of everybody. I carried the weight of the conduits outside of myself for meeting that aspect of acceptance. In 2016 it was like, you know what? Yeah. And I kept removing things. Things kept getting removed. And I noticed as these things kept getting removed from my space, as my space started expanding, the emotions that I was holding in, trying to keep contained, they became unstable. That's where the imbalance came from. That's when I started getting angry. That's when I was more irritated. That's when I was more sad. That's when because I was actually allowing myself to feel the impact of holding that stuff close, keeping that stuff around, keeping those individuals, those people, those places, those things around me. I was starting to feel it more. But then 2017 came into that position, and I really started attacking these aspects. Really attacking these aspects. Still was a learning process. Then 2018 came through. Very good year. 1 plus 9. 1 plus 8 equals 9. It signaled the end of a cycle. And everything that I did back in 2015, 2018, everything started making a lot more sense. Everything started making a lot more sense. 2019 came. I started making those impacts in what I was building in my space. Everything from Friday night lectures, podcasts, creating Occult Alchemy, my clothing and merchandise, tapestries and all that good stuff, and much more stuff coming in the spring line, all the way till 2020 when I was forced, where most people are like, you were forced into that position. I was always in the right position. So when they came around, when they shut everything down, I built into that space. But you got to understand for yourself, when you feel like you're being forced into a position that's stopping you, that may be making you pause, you're learning how to pace yourself. You're learning how to pace yourself in the result of the now. When you start seeing that aspect, when you start seeing things that could change you dramatically from your past, it's teaching you there's no longer time to tolerate challenging your own internal integrity, challenging the old aspects of yourself. We can't tolerate that no more. I'm in a higher space. I'm a god. I'm a goddess. I'm a king. I'm a queen. I'm a titan. It's time to stop using that and tolerating this. Because the longer that you tolerate your past as being the space that you are trying to get yourself together from the past, the old memory, the old thought process, you become a bystander in the now, and you become always anxious of your future. You're always going to be looking at your future like, but I want to have this, and this. Challenge yourself in this now. Push forward in this now. That relationship, that friendship, that job, that way that you've been streaming, you've been trying to make your moves in your life. It's time to let yourself in this space where you're at right now. I can guarantee you, not only from the experience, but from the observation, there's something, I'm going to give you something simple. As I like my herbs. Give you something simple. Everybody that I came into contact with over the last 6 years, everyone that I've come in contact with, whether it was an in-depth conversation or something that I said to them, or them just seeing me, where I'm looking at them now, when they come up, when I see them, we have conversations. If I see them, even if I see them on my Facebook page, just see them out and about, see them embracing the aspects of setting affirmations, meditating, daily affirmations, creating something, all into the aptitude with their self. I know that my energy was in the right place. And on the other end of this, in the duality, the same people, others that I let go of because they weren't willing to grow, they're in the same exact position that they were in before. If not seemingly worse. They're in the same exact position. They're still making the same complaints. They're still having the same aspects. So I can use both of these pieces in order for me to be able to move across the board and see what frequency I'm on. I'm no longer the bystander. I'm no longer the bystander within my life. I'm no longer looking at things because I'm no longer on that frequency. I can see that. I don't need to validate that. I don't need to say it. I don't need to use a million memes. I don't have to do any of those things. I just do my truth. I'm just in my space. This is your growth. This is you pushing forward. You're going to have to challenge everything, not just, I said it on Friday during the lecture, you're not just going to challenge the things that are going to make you feel good. You're not going to keep challenging the things that keep you comfortable. It's not about just challenging the things that make you feel good, that keep you in a sense of comfort. It's about challenging those comforts so you can become uncomfortable. Because the growth is in the discomfort. It's about challenging those things that made you feel good based on tolerance that leave you in a state of anxiousness in order for you to be able to center yourself in the position where you're at right now. Everything you need is right here, right now. Everything is right there, right now. That relationship is that deeper aspects of your shadow work. That job, deeper aspects of that shadow work. That understanding and applying through the shadow work. That vehicle, that drive, that house, that place that you're trying to get into. It all going to be in aspects of that shadow work. And that's what I specialize in as that healer. Gotta call alchemistllc.com, or you hit me in the inbox, set that appointment for that consultation, get that shadow work consultation. One of my mini readings, inner child healing therapy, shadow work therapy that includes the inner child therapy and much aspects to that space. And speaking of the bystander aspect, this week's episode, God Hour Podcast, we're going to get into the bystander effect. You standing there looking at that person on the ground fell, that person that's falling on the ground, that person that's hurting, that person that's whatever it is, and what factors you? Let me ask you a question. You see a man walking down the street in the rain. You see a woman walking down the street in the rain. What would stop you to offer one of them a ride? What if the guy had his two daughters with him walking in the rain? Would you stop them? What if the woman had the two daughters standing in the rain? Would you stop them? The way that you stop is based on how you reflect and view to the aspects of yourself. Going outside of the definition of I'm just simply doing it because I'm a good Samaritan. Because if you were truly in the aspects of what you're doing, you wouldn't allow your emotions to drive you. A lot of us allow our emotions to consume and drive us to do certain things to set that tone, to make that imprint. But yeah, this week we get into the God Hour Podcast. We're getting into the bystander effect. This Friday we're going to get into this romanticism, lusting for the longing. But that we don't get into that a little bit later throughout the week. I want you to be the best. I want you to look into the day and invest into the changes as this message like this resonates with you. Allow it to be the catalyst for how you invest into your day to move forward. Check. Bring yourself into the now. That's where you find your integrity. Bring yourself into the now. That's where you're going to find how to pace yourself. Bring yourself into the now. And that's where you're going to grow that impact. I want you to be the best. I love you. We love us. Ashe.